Hey guys, welcome to Colby's Enchanted Library. And if you are back, hey, and if you are new, hey. As some of you know that have seen my shorts, I have been reading Quicksilver and then I went straight into Brimstone and I have so much to say. I can't wait to dive in. Let's get started. It is a beautiful snowy day. It's just gorgeous. Anyways, for those of you who have not read Quicksilver and Brimstone, I highly suggest that you give it a chance. I was looking at the Goodreads reviews of it, like after I finished Quicksilver. I don't really pay too much attention to those because a lot of people I feel like are very negative just to be negative in a way. They are stating their opinions and everyone has an opinion, but there are some that I feel like they're gonna hate on something no matter what. So I kind of just steer clear of those. But there were so many people that like made it halfway through Quicksilver and they were like, I DNF'd. And I'm like, why? There is parts that kind of are a bit more cringy sometimes with the MMC Kingfisher. He'll say something that's like geared towards Cyrus in a very derogatory way, but they are enemies to lovers. Like, she hates him, and for a while it is mutual. Like, he hates her for her being human. But if you can get past those remarks that he makes or things like that are like a little bit more cringe, there is so much this book offers. Like, every chapter, every page, something is happening. Now, I do have to say, the spice can be somewhat tiring in moments, mostly in Brimstone. Every time they were alone together, it was a spicy scene, and I'm like, can't you guys just talk for 2 seconds? Just talk, get to know each other, But other than that, I don't have a lot negative to say. Now, when they leave Cyrus's world, I do wish there was a little bit more world building. I don't know how to say it. Evilia. See, I'm the type of person that I just make up what it says and it sticks in my head. Evelia. I do wish there was a little bit more world building in that because kind of like A Court in Thorns and Roses, there was so much world building that I could see the map. I could see it in my head, on top of the fact that she did provide us a map. But throughout the story, when Feyre and everyone was going to the different courts, I could see it in my head clearly. The world building in this, I didn't. I did not see the world in my head as clear because I'm the type of person, when I'm reading, it's like a movie. It's like I'm seeing a movie in my head. I'm picturing what they're doing, what the characters look like. So the world building was a bit more difficult. I fell in love with the story because the characters that Callie Hart created are very memorable characters. Like Carry-On Swift, he's hilarious. I know there's a third book, and if he dies, he reminds me of, this is how I say it in my head, Rhydock. Riddick, Rhydock. In Fourth Wing, Carry-On reminds me a lot of him, and he is a very lovable character. I really enjoyed pretty much every time he was in a chapter. It was funny. And I also really like the fact that it goes straight from Quicksilver. Like, as soon as Quicksilver ends, Brimstone picks up right where it ended. And I really, really like that she did that, because I know there's sometimes I've read a book where the ending of one book happens and then the next book starts where it's like months later. And then they recount what happened in between those months. But I really appreciate how it was just like, as soon as the thought of this book ended, it was like she went straight into this one. Like, there was no passage of time at all. If you have not yet read Brimstone or Quicksilver and Brimstone, I do feel like it's fair to give them their best shot. At least get through Quicksilver, because like I said, a lot of people on Goodreads said they got, maybe halfway and then they stopped. To me, that's not very fair, because sometimes there is a lot you have to get through in a book in order to get into that meaty gristle of story building and plot. What makes the book pulling other people to read it. And so when you finish a book halfway, I just don't feel like there's enough information that you got of the story to really just throw it away. So finish this one at least. And if you were like, no, hate it, can't do it, fine. But at least get through this one and pick up this one, because this one, I think this is definitely a series where the second book was better than the first, but not by a lot. Kind of like ACOTAR. I loved the first book. A Court of Thorns and Roses was beautiful, but A Court of Mist and Fury and I almost forgot. A Court of Wings and Ruin were better than A Court of Thorns and Roses. My sister read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then she put it down. She didn't pick up the second book. And I'm like, no, you haven't even got to the best parts. And so she has heeded my advice, and she has picked up A Court of Mist and Fury. So fingers crossed that she keeps reading, because she doesn't even know yet. She doesn't even know. She doesn't. My lampshade is crooked this entire time. I would give this a 4.5. This series a 4.5 because there felt like there was a lack of story building. The spice kind of gotten tiring in certain points. So I will give it a 4.5 just for those. But other than that, I think what Callie Hart has here, the story is beautiful. And Brimstone, the way Brimstone ends, I don't even know. Like, I definitely wasn't expecting it, but then again, when I read it, I was like, oh, okay. So, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. You haven't read these books. But there's one part that I looked up at the ceiling, bawling, tears out of my eyes. I couldn't stop crying. I'm not going to tell you where it is or what scene, but just be prepared that, like, at one section of this book, you will need tissues. You will. You're going to need them. I needed them. But get past that beginning part. Get past the cringy times that Kingfisher just says something just off the wall, and you will find a story that will transfix you, like, into a whole new reality. Characters you'll fall in love with. I definitely would recommend these books to anyone. One thing that I really enjoyed about this series is the strong FMC. Saris, I am not disappointed in how Callie Hart wrote the main female lead. Saris, she's strong, she is smart, and she changes throughout the story in a positive way. In the beginning, she's very guarded, very angry, and she has every right to be with her living situation in the beginning, but she changes, and you see her compassion growing, her strength, her knowledge. I really, really liked how she was portrayed in the series, as well as the MMC. In the beginning, I really didn't like Kingfisher because he was so mean and hateful. Now, this is an enemies to lovers. I mean, it is. So, like, of course, they're not going to really get along. But some of the things that he said was kind of cringy to the point where I was like, okay. As these two books progresses, and we get to learn more about Kingfisher and who he is and where he came from, you kind of learn to love him just like Saris does. And I think that's really beautiful as the reader be able to experience that. When we get into Brimstone, the POV switches from Saris to Kingfisher to where we get to learn even more about who he is in his POVs and how his thoughts and feelings and emotions, you end up really, really enjoying who he is as a character. This isn't like a damsel in distress kind of story. Like, it's not. If anything, it's more or less Kingfisher finds himself in some pretty compromising situations. And Saris is the one who comes in like, you know, all powerful. This is a very high fantasy book series. It includes fae, vampires, magic, runes. If you've ever read anything from Cassandra Clare, the City of Bones series. The City of Bones series, the runes that, you know, are like markings. It's portrayed in a different way than what they are in those books, but still she does incorporate them in a very beautiful way that progresses the plot and adds more depth. And so I really enjoyed how she did that, how Callie Hart did that. There's also satyrs and demons, gods. There's so much that has been added into the series from all mythical worlds. And the way the author, Callie Hart, brought them together in these books, I think honestly, because there was so much going on, I think that's why there was a bit of a lack of story building, in my opinion, because there was just so much happening. There were so many elements. Zavarin, probably saying that wrong. I kind of got a clear picture of what that looked like. You know, we got enough of that in the first few chapters, and I think that's why most people say it was slow, because there was so much that was going on in that realm, Zavarin. But when you go into like the Fae world, I don't feel like there was enough story building to where I could picture it in my head personally. I don't know if other people have that opinion, but that's my personal, like, I couldn't see it as clear in my head as what I do prefer in story building. But I do feel that maybe it's because there was just so much happening in each chapter. There was so many subplots and just twists and characters being introduced that it made up for the lack of story building. So I do feel like this is definitely... I don't want to say 5 stars. I think a 4.5. 4.5. It is definitely worth it. I 110% think it's worth it. After I finished Brimstone, I picked up The Night and the Moth. So far, I am a little over 25% done. And if you would love to see a review on this, please stick around, subscribe, and leave in the comments your opinion of Quicksilver and Brimstone if you've read it. I would love to see how others viewed it, and if you have differing opinions than me, you know, which is okay. It is okay to have different opinions on the books. We all are going to see it differently and read it differently, so let me know what you have to say if you've read them, and if you haven't read them, definitely give them a shot. Give them a shot. And if you don't like them, stick around, because there are more books to come. All right, bye.